killed Sparky, too.
We gotta find the witch, might we, bud?
This video has nothing to do with the Ghost Rider, nor the mailman, but it's been stated before, and I think it's worth repeating just how suspicious that mailman is and has been in this series. Especially here with that little smirk he gives after Agnes stops Monica from reasoning with and getting through to Wanda. I mean, that looks like the grin of a satisfied dude. I do not trust him. There's definitely a large part of me too that hopes that he is Mephisto, as I'm 100% rooting for Mephisto to be like the big bad moving forward, for no other reason than just to get like a proper Doctor Doom story. Honestly, I even enjoyed the original two Fantastic Four movies, with the exception of how they portrayed Doctor Doom and Galactus. I mean, honestly, that was like stupid! That isn't what I'm here to talk about, though. Instead, I want to bring forth a Marvel Comics storyline that could potentially connect to the MCU through witches, celestials, Thanos, the Infinity Stones, and magically aging people. The fabric of this convoluted tapestry found its first string as people online were suggesting the Infinity Stones were coming back, and it really began weaving itself in earnest when I first heard a theory that Agatha used to be part of a coven of witches that was burned alive during the time of the Salem witch trials. It's proposed in this theory that Agatha is attempting to use Wanda's magic to resurrect the dead members of her coven. This idea intrigued me, but I didn't pay it too much mind until I began scanning through the basement scene of episode 7. As Wanda enters the room, there are 3 different hexagons on the wall, each with their own symbol in it. Now, naturally, it may be assumed that there are more than the 3 shown, as we didn't see the walls on the other side of the room as Wanda was walking through. But taking the 3 hexagons at face value, I did a search online for Marvel Comics 3 Witches Coven. The results of this search brought me to The Coven, which blew the door open for some crazy potential theories. According to the Marvel Wiki, the Coven is a trio of mythical witches who reside in the God Quarry, a strange realm at the very edge of the universe to where all the gods who lost their worshippers, either due to them being destroyed or evolving past them, go to die. The witches feed on the souls of those old gods and disperse their power back into the cosmos. Possibly even more intriguing than the Coven themselves is the God Quarry, also known as the Quarry of Creation, and this is defined on Marvel Wiki as a strange and unknown realm located at the very edge of the universe. At its bottom laid a virtually impenetrable barrier that served as an access to the primordial universe where celestials resided, guarding a deposit of countless Infinity Stones, which they delivered to different realities across the multiverse. Another key to this incohesive narrative theory adjacent thing I'm proposing is the way the show changes aspect ratios to indicate moving between Wanda's hex world and the reality we know. This happens quite a lot, and happens again when Wanda enters the crypt in Agatha's basement. Most people assume that this indicates Wanda is back in the main reality, but what if it simply means she's entered another full reality? The one she created was small and contained, not yet a full-fledged universe, not quite its own creation within the multiverse. But it should stand that any universe within the multiverse would be considered to the inhabitants in that universe to be the main universe. And so perhaps this crypt doesn't exist in the Earth 616 or Earth 1999-99 or whichever it is that the MCU currently resides in. If Wanda's universe is considered its own fully fledged reality, then it would make sense that it too should receive its own set of Infinity Stones from the deposit the Celestials guard within the God Quarry. This could provide the very thing she needs for Vision to return to life, untethered to the magic within the world Wanda created. But based on the fact that Vision was being torn apart by attempting to leave the Hex, I'd guess this hasn't happened. But if the Hex is further expanded to encompass the whole world, I could see Wanda finding a way to split it from the MCU reality into its own self-sustained reality and getting the Infinity Stones she needs to bring Vision back to life. To pivot back to the God Quarry for a moment, I'd like to touch on some of the powers that were listed for the Coven in the Marvel Wiki. Is that they're said to possess chronokinetic power, or the ability to rapidly age individuals, which they were seen doing to Star Fox in Thanos Volume 2, Issue number 9. That is a magical effect that we have now seen twice in WandaVision.
Let's just hope this dog stays the same size.
In both this scene and the one prior where the twins morphed from the babies, Agatha was present. When Wanda and the kids find Sparky dead with Agnes, Wanda has to convince the boys not to age up, yet once again Agatha is present. Now, I don't necessarily have much of a theory here, but I think either Agatha was the one aging the kids through the power of the Coven, the ones I talked about earlier, or she recognizes that power within Billy himself. And perhaps the source of Billy's magical powers isn't something like the chaos or hex magic that his mother uses, but rather maybe his powers are being drawn from the Quarry of Creation itself. For full disclosure, I haven't actually read the comics where all of this is explored, and though I've spent some time skimming the wiki pages, I've been unable to really grasp what seems to be a very complicated storyline. But I've gathered it takes place in another universe, and it involves Thane, Thanos' son, having gained the power of the Phoenix Force. Thanos then travels to the God Quarry to face a trial to gain its power so that he will have the power to defeat his son. I'd like to reiterate that I really don't have an actual cohesive theory here. I just want to point out that the events of WandaVision and the MCU up to now could tie in quite easily to this Thanos comics run. It touches on the Infinity Stones, the Celestials who will be explored in the Eternals movie. It has magical witches, Thanos, and even magic that can rapidly age someone. Come on, you can't tell me there isn't something here.